to come again now.
Yeah, I told her, but she's saying it's.
Yeah, you can start in a minute. You can start, Mala.
Okay.
Deepi. No, Google no hoy Zoom di khula.
Can you hear me?
Mala, you can start.
Yes. Okay, welcome to yet another session organized by Ancient Roots. Ancient Roots is a group of history, heritage, archaeology, and Indic studies enthusiasts wanting to bring facts about lesser known subjects and topics to people. It is a completely voluntary organization, and this group does this initiative simply as a passion. About today's speaker, I would first introduce the speaker to you before we move on to the topic. The speaker for today is Dr. Paromita Das. Dr. Paromita Das is a professor and former head of the Department of History, Gauhati University, where she has been serving since 1997. Prior to that, she worked for 4 years as a lecturer in Arya Vidyapeeth College, Gauhati. She was the first ICCR visiting professor in Indian Studies, Chair History at the Mohammed V University, Rabat, and the premier institution of the Kingdom of Morocco. She has now rejoined her parent institute, Gauhati University, after completion of her deputation to Morocco for the last 2 academic years. She has to her credit 2 books, namely Terracotta Sculptures of Assam and History and Archaeology of Northeast India, and she has published more than 40 research articles in various books and journals. She was also the editor of the Journal of History and Culture, published by Gauhati University in 2017 and 2018. She is the guest editor of Man in India, which is a special issue on Northeast and Eastern India. She's also the joint editor of 2 other books, Archaeological Heritage of South Asia, 2020, and Heritage Northeast, published in 2017. She is also the author of Geeti Kavi, the poetry of Parvati Prasad Baruwa, published in 2014, which is a translation into English from Assamese of the poet's lyrical poems. She was an official nominee of the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, to the SARC regional seminar held in 2015 in Sri Lanka. Dr. Paromita Das is actively engaged in research and has also guided many research students on different aspects of history and culture in India. She has presented more than 40 papers in national and international conferences, chaired academic sessions, as well as delivered numerous lectures in India and abroad. She is also a member of the Board of Studies of numerous universities and academic bodies. About the topic for today, I think it's already visible, the Kirtimukha motif in art. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. The Kirtimukha is a grotesque creature said to have been born from the brow of Shiva to destroy the forces of evil. In India, the motif of the glory face or Kirtimukha is commonly seen in stone icons of the early medieval period, crowning the stele and flanked by flying Vidyadharas. In the structural remains of ancient and early medieval temples, this motif is, however, not so common. A variant of the Kirtimukha, known as the Kala Makara motif, is also found in the art of Southeast Asia. Massive stone Kirtimukha have been unearthed during excavations of temple sites in some parts of the Brahmaputra Valley of Assam. These appear to have adorned the Shikara of temples. The Kirtimukha motif has also been found in the terracotta remains of Golpara district. Dr. Paromita Das would discuss the features of the Kirtimukha motif in the art of Assam and the prevalence of this motif in other parts of India as well as in Southeast Asia. Over to Dr. Paromita Das.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, madam. We are able to hear you.
Okay, I'll start. So I'm going to be speaking on the Kirtimukha motif in art basically. Okay, so the Kirtimukha, as you've already said, it's a grotesque creature. It's said to have been born from the brow of Shiva to destroy the forces of evil. And its birth is associated with the story of a powerful asura known as Jalandhara, who actually became very powerful due to the grace of Shiva. And sometimes, as it happens, he became very arrogant, and he also became enamored of Shiva's consort Parvati. So he sent the Graha, or the planet Rahu, or one of the demons, as a messenger to Shiva. That is, Rahu is also one of the asuras, and said that, Shiva is not worthy because he's uncouth, his body is smeared with ashes, his hair is Jata Mukuta, or you can say he has dreadlocks today, and things like that. So Parvati should not marry him because Shiva is uncivilized. Parvati should be handed over to Jalandhara. And so when Rahu goes to Shiva to give this message, he becomes very angry, and from his third eye it opens, and a horrible, frightening creature emerges in a terrific burst of power. So this is that is the lotus of Kaman, or the Agya Chaksu, signifying divine wrath. So this is the description given, a translation from the Sanskrit. A horrendous lion-headed demon. A horrendous lion-headed demon, and emerges, and you find the alarming body of the monster was lean and emaciated, giving notice of insatiable hunger, yet its strength was resilient and obviously irresistible. The apparition's throat roared like thunder, the eyes burnt like fire, the mane, disheveled, spread far and wide into space. Now what you find is, one second, this is disturbing. Okay, no, this was coming on the screen. So the creature went to devour Rahu, but the latter then was so scared, so he asked Shiva's protection, and the beast was reined in. Now, because he could not eat Rahu, the monster, he needed to be fed because he was very hungry, as he had an insatiable hunger. But since Rahu was now under the protection of Shiva, the creature began to eat its own body rather than destroy others, leaving its face intact, and it began to eat itself up to the neck. This earned it the admiration of Shiva, who decreed that henceforth it would adorn the highest position in his temple, being above all. Hence Kirtimukha, or glory face. So Shiva addressed the monster as such, or now it was just reduced to a face. That you will be known henceforth as Kirtimukha, and I ordain you shall always remain at my doorway. He who fails to worship you shall never be able to acquire my grace. Now, basically, we call it the face of glory, and it is somewhat similar to the Greek gorgons, which I will talk about later, and it served as something to ward off the evil eye. So, like, it is an apotropic demon mask, a gruesome, awe-inspiring guardian of the threshold, and is an active portion of the substance of the divinity himself, because it emerged from Shiva himself, a sign and agent of his protective fiend-destroying wrath. Because Shiva in Hindu mythology is also Mahakal. Now, Kala, the idea of Kala is actually time, because in time, everything is destroyed. You know, everything ends with time. So time is the greatest destroyer. And Shiva sometimes is regarded in mythology as Mahakala. Like he has two aspects. One is the benevolent aspect, that is Mahadeva, and the other is the force of destruction. So then he is Kala. So what you find, the Kirtimukha, now we see it may be carved on the lintel of doorways to Shiva temples, and sometimes it is carved on the threshold of the Garbhagriha, marking the passage into transcendental nature. The monster had functioned thus as a propitious device, protecting the holy shrine from evil forces. So this is, yeah, so this temple, it is, sorry. Okay. So this is actually you find it is a front portion of the temple is a square or rectangleish, and the other portion is oval shaped actually. And here you find, this is the base of the temple. You can see the arrow. Then these depict lotus petals. Over that we find Vidyadharas or knowledge bearers. These are demigods or who are aerial deities. And these you can see in the Adhistan or base, you find these Kirtimukhas. And on top of the base, this is in Assam. This is in a place called Deoparvat in Upper Assam. And these are elephants. These are elephants. Okay. This is again the base of another temple, not that earlier temple. This is from Madan Kamdev. And here you can see this Kirtimukha here. You can see the Kirtimukha here. This is a Pancharatha temple. Pancharatha, this is a 12th century temple in not very far from Gauhati. This is a close-up of the same temple, which I just showed you. So above you can see pilasters and other sculptures, but here this is on the base are the Kirtimukha. And in this temple, we find these Kirtimukhas are there, and it enshrines an image of Uma Maheshwara, that is in Alingana. Now, what you find is the majority of temples in Assam, because it lies in a highly seismic zone, we do not have any standing temples prior to the 16th century, actually, which is very sad. We just have these bases of the temple, or sometimes you just find the plinth and one or two pillars, things like that. And earlier they used to actually join these temples, like the superstructure used to be joined, the stone blocks, with iron dowels. Now, because of the damp and humid climate, these iron dowels, they rust, and the superstructure, they fall down during, that is what you call earthquakes. And secondly, another thing is, what you find is growth of vegetation is very much there. So, and that is the seed of the people tree. Sometimes the birds, they bring these seeds and they stick to the plinth and the walls, etc. And the roots take place and they break up because the mortar used at that time was not very good. Now, this is the close-up of the Kirtimukha. So here you can see, these are the bulging eyes of the Kirtimukha. These are the horns. And this is a bit of a, this is not so scary, it is more comical actually, this Kirtimukha. And these are the pearls. Some say Rudrakshamala, others say pearls. Because actually in sculpture, it is difficult to know. But we also, it is said that the Kirtimukha is associated with pearls, because whoever builds Shiva temples and the Kirtimukha, it will bring them luck. You know, pearls are sign of prosperity. This is just a scene of dance, etc. You can see on the temple. Now, this is in a place called Tezpur, which is around 100 miles from Gauhati. And as I said, remains, and this is the place called Coal Park, where the district administration. Jaipur was one of the capital cities of a dynasty called the Salastambha dynasty. And most of the kings were worshippers of Shiva. They were worshippers of Shiva. And you find the Kirtimukhas are there. And in this place called the Coal Park, the district administration, it's a huge lake is there, and other artifacts are there. They have gathered the different remains and they have placed them here. So you can see this Kirtimukhas here, here, here. These are parts of the Adhisthana of a temple, and these are also parts of a temple. So it is not one structure, okay? They have just placed it here. This structure and this has been placed on top of it. I mean, this is not how it was actually found, but this is the base of a temple. So these Kirtimukha has a slightly different carve than the one I just showed you. Now this is from Orissa, and we see this Kirtimukha. So this is the bulging eye, and this is the lion's mane. And here below it also you see a face. Maybe it shows the attempt to devour Rahu. Why is it? Now, it's as I said, it is also known as the Kala head, as it symbolizes time or nemesis, which inevitably consumes everything, hence the devourer. Now, in course of time, it began to be the Kirtimukha motif. It began to be used indiscriminately on other parts of the temple as decorative elements. Someone is scratching. Please stop. I mean, if you're logged in with your cell phone, please don't fiddle with the screen. So the description, it's basically like this. It has projecting horns. It has fangs. It has frowning like brow, angry brow like this. Then protruding eyes and fan-shaped ears. These are consistent with Shilpa Sastras such as the Manasara, Kashyapa Shilpa, Aparajita, Prishcha, etc. Now, it is sometimes associated with the Makara, which is a crocodile-like creature motif. And association with the Makara Mukha is especially evident in the sculptural representation of Orissa. And the Makara, it's an aquatic animal. It symbolizes water, which signifies life and growth. And it is the antithesis of the destructive nature of the lion mask or Kirtimukha. So in Indian philosophy, like suppose we look at Shiva, especially Shiva as Nataraja. So it is like the cosmic dance. So creation, destruction, and again rebirth. This is a continuous process. And in the Indian context, especially ancient India, time is cyclical. It does not move forward in a linear progression. It goes in a cyclical progression. Like in the last lecture, which was given about Kali Yuga, so we had 4 yugas, okay? That is Satya Yuga, that is Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga, etc. Some are called a bit different, but Kali Yuga is the same. So then again, after Pralaya starts, then again it starts from Satya Yuga. So similarly here, so creation, destruction, then again creation, new creation. It's part of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth of the universe and of the human beings also, because like the Atma or soul is supposed to be eternal. That is, it has no beginning, it has no end. So that is the water and the aquatic creatures, and sometimes actually serpents also, they are also associated with fertility. And with the river, the water, these also are associated with fertility, because wherever there is water, civilizations have grown up. So the association of the Makara motif with the Kirtimukha. Now, we also find other versions, like in the Padma Puran, in Uttarakhand chapter 11, that Shiva rewarded the Kirtimukha by placing the monster face inside his own Jatamukut. And sometimes he also appears in Shiva's Jatamukut or dreadlocks or crown of matted hair. Now, what you find is in the icons, like in Eastern India, I'm more familiar with. So in the icons of the Pala period, like say from the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th century, during this period, like the Pala rule in Bengal, Eastern India, Assam, etc. We had a different Pala dynasty in Assam besides the Pala dynasty of Bengal. Anyway, the sculptures from there, like the icons which we find, it appears on the Prabha Mandala or the stele, that is STELE, or stela of the images. Like the sculpture is there, then backside there is a Prabha Mandala. So on the apex you find the Kirtimukha, and it is often flanked by two flying Vidyadharas. And in course of time, what you find, it became an ornamental motif that was found at the apex of the stele of other icons as well. And it was used indiscriminately as an auspicious symbol at the entrance of the temples of other deities. So in course of time, it was no longer sort of just a Shaivite or association. So as I said earlier, as in the flyer it was written, it is commonly seen on the stone icons of the early medieval period, crowning the stele and flanked by 5 Vidyadharas. And structural remains of ancient and early medieval temples, it is not so common, but we do find massive stone Kirtimukhas in excavations of places like Golaghat, Sonitpur, Nagaon district, etc., situated in the Brahmaputra valley. Now, the Salastamba dynasty, which I told you about, the majority of these rulers, they were the followers of Shiva. This is we find out from the inscriptions. Like all the inscriptions, land grants, they start with the dedication to different forms of Shiva, like Nataraja, Ardhanareshwara, Maheshwara, okay, Paramadevata, like that. So what you find is, and the Sonitpur area, present-day Sonitpur district and Nagaon district, these were the strongholds of the Salastambhas. And it is there we find a lot of sculptures with Kirtimukhas in the structural remains. But in Upper Assam, much further up the Brahmaputra valley, in Golaghat also, we find some massive Kirtimukhas in Deoparbat. And also in terracotta remains of Western Assam, contiguous to the plains of Bengal, that is Gwalpara district. So this is Kirtimukha. You can see it has become very stylized. And this fiery mane, this is denoting the fire. And here you can find the bulging eyes. These are the bulging eyes, the broad nose, okay? And the horns, here the horns are there. And the whole, it has become a decorative motif. Like see here, you can see this, it's much better seen, like the eyes are here, bulging here. And these are the horns on the head. And then the fiery mane. So the description of the fiery mane, this is how the artist has translated it. So these are 2 stone blocks which we find in Deoparbat in Upper Assam. In that beautiful temple which I showed you in the Adhisthana, the first slide which I had shown. Now another piece is here, you find one Kirtimukh here. And here it looks almost comical actually. And another here, this is the side and this is the base of a pillar. And you can see dowel holes here. This is a close-up. So here it doesn't look so scary, just the feet are here of the lion. The tongue is hanging out. Okay, it has something like a mustache here, the broad eye, and the horns are shown. Horns are shown like this. I mean, it's not separate. It's not separate because it formed the base of the temple. So these are the horns are carved here itself. And these bulging eyes are there. So this is one side, and one Vidyadhara is here, and on the other side of the stone, similar one. So here it doesn't look very frightening. It looks quite comical and cute. Now this is from the Kapili Valley, that is in the erstwhile Nagaon district. And here this is found on the Gandhi of the temple. It has broken down, and it is kept in the site museum. So the grinning lion face, and here you find like the pearls, they look like sort of an Assyrian beard. And the horns are there, and these are the eyes. And Rudraksha or pearls are coming out from its mouth. So the grinning lion face has become very stylized. And there in that same area, there's an archaeological park known as the Rajmohan Nath Park, archaeological park. So one part of this is kept on a stone block by the State Archaeology Department. So you can see the bulging eyes. These are the horns. These are the horns. Okay. And these are the pearls coming out. So it's not exactly very scary looking now. And this is another thing which has been placed in the same area. So this is like the Amalaka of the temple. So we had the Nagara style of temple in this area, similar to that of Orissa. And the Kalasha is on top. Oh, wait, I think this is my student. Okay.
I have let him in. Let him in.
No, I think it's a girl. I mean, one of my students from Morocco, her name was Firdaus. Oh, this is another student.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no. One Gargi
Raha.
Raha.
Okay, this one is another student from Morocco. And
All right.
Firdaus is
Salma,
not a boy,
Salma
she's a
Putta.
girl.
Salma, yeah.
So this is the grinning Kirtimukha here, and this is the Amalaka of the Nagara temple, and the Kalasha is here. The Kalasha is here. So, I mean, but as I said, the temples are not standing. And on that same complex, okay, some goats are here. And we find that same sort of that fire design here. And here you find this Kirtimukha. These are just stone blocks of the remnants of temple which have been kept here. And these designs are there. These designs are there. And this is from Gwalpara district. This is in the Gwalpara district museum. I mean, there at the part known as Surya Pahar. So here, this is terracotta. This is terracotta. You find the flaring nose. The horns are not prominent here, but these bulging eyes are there. Like it's a grinning lion face, and the teeth are visible. And here you find it's a sort of beard instead of pearl strings. But in this one, this is terracotta and this is stone. So the bottom part of a Kirtimukha, so these are the pearl strings coming out from its mouth. And this is again, we go back to Tezpur, there in the coal park. This is a pillar which has been kept there. So here you find Kirtimukha in the design. This is a close-up of the thing. And here you can see the horns. This has become a bit pixelated, but anyway, these are the pearl strings and these are the horns. Now, this is a sculpture from the Kapili Jamuna Valley that is in the Nagaon and Moregaon districts of Assam. So this is the Tripura Bhairavi image. It's a tantric deity, but here you find the Kirtimukha. So now it's not only just a Shaivite image, but other deities are also using this. I mean, they're also depicted. So here it's quite comical, actually, the expression is not very frightening. And here you find the pearls are there and a cone like a pine cone. And this may also be a representation of a lotus bud, because the lotus, not the bud that, I mean, that object which is saying a green lotus bud. So now the Kirtimukha here, as you can see, it is not at all scary. It's quite cute, actually. It's quite cute and like it's grinning. So it's not a frightening lion face. So it became a conventional motif and people just used it. By people, I mean the artists. And this is a rock cut image from there. This is Shiva and Uma or Uma Maheshwar Murti. So here you can see this is on a huge boulder. And the locals have started worshipping it, and they have put some trishul here. And these are the flying Vidyadharas. And this is the Kirtimukha here, but it has become eroded because it is exposed to nature. So here you find Uma Maheshwara, just pointing out, like in Assam and all, Uma Maheshwara, like Parvati, along with Shiva, is regarded as his equal, and they are given in sculpture as the same size. But down south, many sculptures which I have seen are like the Parvati is of a smaller size, generally not of the same height. Because in sculpture, to show importance, size matters, like according to the Talamana system and all that. And here this is the devotee. So this is rock cut. Okay, it's cut out from a rock. Like this is a big boulder and they have cut it out. And people have put whitewash, lime wash here. Now these are in the Assam State Museum. So this is a sculpture of Surya, and here again the Kirtimukha is there. Then this is a sculpture of Vishnu. Again, we find the Kirtimukha. This is another Surya sculpture from Ambari. So here the Kirtimukha is there. But this is another Ambari sculpture. This is of a, that is Rishi or whatever you call, Sannyasi. But here you find the lotus bud, not the Kirtimukha. Then again here you find not just the Kirtimukha, the flying Vidyadharas are there of the Surya sculpture. And this is a Nataraja sculpture. So there was no space for the Vidyadharas because it's very crowded. But here you can see one Kirtimukha. So just the sort of semblance of a Kirtimukha. Like it became, okay, this is part of the sculpture, we have to put it, it became a convention. And here you can see a grinning Kirtimukha. I mean, looking quite funny actually, as if at a joke he's smiling. And here. So this is a sculpture of Chandanaika, one of the yoginis. Now, in Orissa, the Kirtimukha is also known as the Vajra Mastaka, according to the Shilpa Prakasha, and it appears on the Gandhi or spire. So on the Gandhi or spire, I have already shown you, like, because the sculptures of temple architecture, the Nagara style, it was influenced by the styles of Orissa. We also find, I had already shown you, and pearls dripping to form to superimpose Chaitya medallions, etc. And this I have already said. Now, this is on a pillar in Orissa. Pillar in Orissa. Then this is from a sculpture. So here you find the paws are there. The paws of the beast are there. But the pearls are shown here. The pearls are shown here. And not coming up from its mouth, and the grinning teeth and everything is there, and the ears and the horns. And this is another sculpture from Orissa. Here you can see. So these are the stylized horns and all these curly, like mustaches there of the lion, and the pearls are coming out. And here you can see two beings seated on Kirtimukha, actually rampant lions, like it's a tiger, like, sorry, it's a lion. So it's a simha, but then the features of the Kirtimukha are there, pearls coming out from its mouth. And the horns are there. So like it's a rampant, that is aloft lion. So here 1, 2, and 3. Now, in other parts of India, especially in Dravidian temples, we generally notice it on the door lintel of the main shrine or on successive tiers of the Vimana or Gopuram. And it's also carved on either side of the steps or temple, or sometimes on the apex of the temple arch, also sometimes on the treasure. So here you can see the Kirtimukha. It's here. It's not very clear, but because it's become slightly pixelated while I was looking for photos, I don't have my own fieldwork here in these areas. I had to depend upon Google search. So here you can see the Kirtimukha on the walls. Then here also, see 1, 2, this is 3. Then again, this is like a decorative motif on the Vimana. Then again here, down south. And this, the Kirtimukha is there. This is from Karnataka. This is from Karnataka. This is from Chennai. I mean, and not Chennai, sorry. I mean, this is from Tamil Nadu. This is from Tamil Nadu. There's Rathas. So the Kirtimukha here you can see. This is rock cut. And this is the stone temple in Karnataka. I think Chennakeshava, I'm not, or Kashi Vishweshwara also it would be. I forgot now. You can see monkeys, etc. here, but here the Kirtimukha is there, here it is there, then here it is there. And here. This has also become pixelated, but this is at the apex of the temple. Very colorful and all. This, I think, is in Meenakshi Temple, Gopuram. Now, you find it in other parts of the Indian subcontinent, like Nepal, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka. So there you find a grotesque lion motif I mean, we cannot technically say that they're the Kirtimukha, but similar. And I just found it interesting. And in Southeast Asia also you find, as I said, you find the Kala Makara motif. And Kumaraswamy describes it, that is A.K. Kumaraswamy, as a grotesque Kirtimukha, that is the Kala Makara, which features such as protruding eyes, broad nose, and two big projecting teeth on two sides of the mouth, similar to the ones appearing in the early medieval temples of India. Now, in Chinese art also, especially in sacrificial vessels and bowls, that is vessels, as old as 6th century BC, popularly known in China as Tao Tie or monster face. Sorry, just one second. Now, interestingly, nothing to do with the Kirtimukha, but as I was just looking at things, you also find in Europe something called the Green Man. Monster face depicted in Gothic architecture with beard of leaves, and sometimes with leaves springing out of his cheeks, forehead, and lips, popularly known as Green Man, which bears resemblance with the Kala head. And sometimes European, one particular art historian actually, like in India, when they saw the Kirtimukha, they used the Sanskrit term Vanaspati, that is to do with the forest man. This is from Kathmandu, Nepal. So like the Kala Makara motif, so you can see the remnants of something crocodile or something like that here. This, and the horns are there, and it is eating. Basically, it is the devourer. Then this is from the Lole Temple Linden in Cambodia. So there also you find it's become pixelated. I'm sorry, because I wanted to make it bigger. So these are the eyes. And then you find these makaras. Makaras, as I said. So this is the Kala Makara motif actually. Wait, I'll show you a better one. Okay. This is, I don't know, some Thomas Presser's photo, but anyway, I got it from the net. So this is the Kirtimukha, and you also have probably Shiva here. And this is the Makara. So you can see it's an aquatic animal. It's not exactly a crocodile, but it's some sort of an aquatic animal. You can see the rows of teeth here. Here. So this is the Kala Makara motif. Banteshwe temple. This is in Cambodia. Now, when you look at this, this is reminiscent of, you know, this fiery, this fire, how the stylized fire is being depicted. This is very much reminiscent from which I showed you earlier, those stylized Kirtimukhas with flames above the heads found in Assam. And actually in the inscriptions from, like say, Cambodia, then Java and other places of Southeast Asia, we find Sanskrit inscriptions, and they talk of Brahmins, that is, they call them of the Gotra, or that is the lineage of Kondinya. Now we find in Upper Assam, in the extreme Upper Assam, there is a place called Kundil Nagar, and Kundil Nagar or Kundin Nagar. So some historians have also postulated the theory that just as people went to Southeast Asia from down south, that is from Dravida Desha, and also from Tamralipti and other places in Bengal, many probably went overland also to Southeast Asia, and maybe some Southeast Asian influence could have like been there in Assam, because what you find is there's something called the salt root. And in Laos, etc., we find stone jars, and similar stone jars are also found in the North Kachar hills of Assam. Massive monolithic stone jars, which the local tribes have no living memory about. So these were ancient, that is, migration routes and early cultures. But today, also with the advent of Christianity and also even we can say Hinduism, because earlier they were animistic societies. So whatever was there, but now people have no living memory of it, not in folk tales, not in the mythology. So early people, say from Southeast Asia, when they migrated, so these were the areas they used. These were the areas they used. And it was so much in the remote past that there is no living memory of it today, except the archaeological evidence. So this is in Angkor Wat, Cambodia. So here it's opening its mouth, and like arms we can see. Arms are there. It's opening its mouth wide to devour. And see, this is Angkor, Cambodia, and these sort of flames which you find, they look quite similar to like these from Deoparvat, like these flames. I'm not saying they're exactly same, but similar, all these curls and things like that. So this is from Cambodia, this is from Assam. This is from Java, Chandi Kidal. So Chandi means the temple. So this is the Makara. So this is the Kala Makara motif. This is the Kala Makara motif. And see, these are the horns and these are the bulging eyes and protruding teeth. It's like a demon face. It's like a demon face and the teeth are there. And here the Makara is there, another Makara is that side also. So this is the Kala Makara motif. And then again, it's in Borobudur, Java. Here you find. And these are the Makara here. The two Makara here. And this is the Kala head. Then this is the Taotie. It's a grinning lion face. This is a lion, of course. It's not the Kirtimukha, but something similar, you know, bulging eyes and things like that. So this is from China. And now this is the bronze Taotie mask of China. And the stylized Kirtimukha, which I showed you on the Adhistan or temple base, it's something similar, like the horns here, This is bronze mask. These are the bulging eyes, etc. I'm not saying it's the same Kirtimukha, but something similar in cultures about a scary looking lion face sort of demon mask. This is a Taotie on bronze ding. So a ding is a ritual vessel used in China. So these are ancient ritual things. And these are stylized like the Kirtimukha. The horns, then these are eyes, things like that. This is another one. So it has become just a motif. The eyes are here, then like flame-like things and horns. Then this is from another vessel. So here you can see the lion face. Now in Greek mythology, the Gorgons were three sisters. I mean, nothing to do with our Kirtimukha, but just you look at it, it is quite similar in depiction. So Stheno, Euryale, and Medusa. Medusa is more famous in not in history, like in mythology. We mostly know about her. So they were often portrayed as winged women with broad faces, fangs, and lolling tongues. So like the Kirtimukha. So this is a Gorgon from Greece. All the Gorgons have snakes in their hands. So reliefs of Gorgons were often placed near the doorways of Greek homes to ward off evil. So just in the threshold of temples, we use Kirtimukha in early India. So here also you find these sort of figures in ancient Greece also. So see, it has bulging eyes, the Gorgon, then the hair like the pearls we had, then these are the flames and also, and the tongue is hanging out like a Kali, and the teeth you can find. So there is some similarity. This is Medusa, 4th century BC Greece. Of course, some accounts also say that Medusa was a very beautiful woman, but her hair had serpents in it. So you can see fangs here, the broad nose, the bulging eyes. So this is a depiction of Medusa on a ceramic vessel, broken. Now this is also Medusa. So this is in the island of Corcyra, temple of Artemis. Artemis is Diana, goddess of fertility. And these snakes, which are intertwined snakes, they are symbolic of fertility. So here Medusa with snakes is there, because her hair is full of serpents. I mean, that is what her hair looks like. So later she was beheaded by Perseus, and he put it on his shield to fight against because it was said that if you look at the head of Medusa, you will turn to stone. So pediment is the base of the temple. So here also quite a frightening thing. Not, of course, like the earlier Gorgon Kirtimukha, but something like that. Then this is also Medusa. Tongue out like this. Then these are serpents for hair. Now, another thing which we have, the green man, and very occasionally the green woman. It's supposed to be as a symbol of rebirth, representing the cycle of new growth that occurs every spring. So this also we find in sculpture, surrounded by leaves, etc. So, and many cultures have this variation of the green man and decorative architectural things, and both on secular as well as religious buildings, like neo-Gothic Victorian architecture, also on Australian stonemasons, etc. And also sacred and both sacred and secular buildings. So this is Germany, sculpture from Germany. This is of the green man. So here it is not exactly frightening, but it is also reminiscent of our Kirtimukha. So instead of flames, you have foliage, you have leaves coming out. And this is supposed to be one face, and instead of a beard, he has a leaf here. And these are leaves instead of hair, bulging eyes, broad nostrils, etc. This is another one. This is from Kilpec, a place called Kilpec. This is the green man from Kilpec. And instead of pearls coming out, we have tree branches coming out. But here, bulging eyes, same thing. So apparently something which is scary, also awe-inspiring, or used as to ward off evil eye or things like that. Human civilization in different parts of the world, they conceived of something quite similar. The human imagination apparently is quite similar in different parts of the world. So this is from France. This is from England. And this is from Istanbul. It is a Roman mosaic. That is Constantinople, because you remember that Constantinople was part of the Eastern Roman Empire. So this is a Roman mosaic, part of it. And here you find the green man, literally green like. And this is from Iraq, that is ancient Mesopotamia. This is the green man. And this is in a place called Gauhati. This is church. This is from Germany. And these I just found while browsing. See, they have been used for jewelry. So these are the eyes of the Kirtimukha. Eyes, horns, whatever. These appear, and instead of pearls, these, see, so sweet, like the eyes of the Kirtimukha. Of course, with a bit of imagination, you can like see the Kirtimukha in them. Like sort of a stylized Kirtimukha. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of my lecture. Sir, we cannot hear you. Please unmute.
Oh, sorry. Madam, that was an excellent lecture. I heard your last lecture also in Sthapati Parishad. And taking one particular small aspect, you have taken us to a panoramic tour of not only Assam, India, and throughout the world. That was very excellent. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, please.
Yeah, sure. Any questions? You can please post it in the chat. Those of you who want to ask any questions to Dr. Das, please post it in the chat.
Okay, one question is there. Can you explain about the powerful Asura Jalandhara? So this is a mythology basically. You find it in the Shiva Purana and also some other Puranas, that Jalandhara was an Asura and he was actually a devotee of Shiva. But due to Shiva's grace, he becomes very powerful. And when people become powerful, sometimes they forget their roots and they become arrogant. And he felt that somebody like Parvati, he became actually lustful for Parvati, and he wanted, like, when the marriage of Shiva and Parvati was going on, this is one part of the story. So he sends Rahu and he says that that unkempt person Shiva is not worthy of Parvati. So please ask Shiva to hand her over to me. And so Shiva becomes very angry. And then from his brow, like his third eye, because Shiva he's called Trilochan. So he has a third eye here. So when he gets angry, he opens that, and whoever he looks at, turns to ashes, burns to ashes. But here he opened his third eye, and from his brow, like from not the third eye, but just below it, this point between the brows. So from that, because he's the supreme god. In the Shiva Purana, he is the greatest of all gods. He has no beginning, no end. So basically from there, the idea comes that he unleashed the forces of destruction in the form of the Kirtimukha. And when Rahu saw the Kirtimukha was about to devour him, he again because, he was also being impudent, bringing, being the messenger of Jalandhara. So he begs Shiva's forgiveness. So Jalandhara, of course, also is scared and learns his lesson. And he again starts, goes back to being humble and worshipping Shiva. Because Shiva was also said to be the god who was very easily pleased. So actually, in mythology, we have lots of stories about Shiva where asuras earn his favor and then they try to misuse their powers. Like Andhakasura and other stories of the asuras. And then sometimes Vishnu has to come to the rescue, because Vishnu in Indian mythology is supposed to be the protector, the one who protects. Like if you look at the Trimurti or the Hindu Trinity, Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver. So he maintains the cosmic order, and Shiva is the destroyer.
Yeah, one Mr. Shyam Raman has asked a question. From which period is the beautiful Nataraja you showed? Is it typical?
That is from Gauhati. That is 13th, 14th century, around that. It's from Ambari.
Yeah, Mr. Rajaram has a question. Yeah, Mr. Rajaram, you can ask.
Good evening, Dr. Paromita Das. That was an excellent lecture.
Thank you.
Started from India, then moved out of India. You went to Nepal, Cambodia. Then you went to Europe. You took us a virtual tour. Probably I was expecting North America, Canada, South America as well. You can continue that in the next round. And one thing I want to know
Probably we would find that, sir.
Yeah. One thing which I want to know is cutting across borders. What is the timeline? Did the Kirtimukha started from India and moved across, or was it already existing in Europe and other places?
Europe, actually, Europe, so I'm not an authority on the European architecture, actually. Okay, so there, I don't know about the idea, but what is interesting is that the Gorgon heads, not the Kirtimukha, but the Gorgon head we find in 6th century BC in Greece, like Medusa and all that. So later mythology makes her a beautiful woman, but like in the sculptures which I showed you, she's quite hideous actually. And in India and Southeast Asia, we have a lot of archaeological and literary evidence. We have a lot of inscriptions, etc., of trade relations between India and Southeast Asia, especially from 5th century onwards up to the 15th century. So we had trade routes, etc., and it was a two-way traffic. And especially in Northeast India, like if you call it, to use such a term, the peopling of Northeast India. So different racial groups actually came from Southeast Asia to Northeast India in the remote past, that is before living memory. And we have evidence of that, like the salt trade, also then at a later period, the Silk Route. Now, what you find is temples like you find, say from the 5th century onwards in India, structural temples. One second. Just excuse me. So, but in the 5th century, we do not find the Kirtimukha because we find the story of the Kirtimukha in Puranic literature. And the Puranas come about that oral tradition may have been there, but they were actually written down 9, 10, 11, 12, like that. That is the oral traditions. They were collated and written down in the different Puranas. And from the time of the Ramayana and Mahabharata, you find, sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay, relax.
So you find basically like earlier you find Vedic deities. So then Shiva and Vishnu, they become very popular. And it is mainly the Puranic period where we find the popularity of Shiva and Vishnu, starts developing. They become sort of like a personal god. You have a problem, you pray to Shiva, you pray to Vishnu, without the intervening Brahmin or the priest or other intermediary. And like it's just the devotee and the god. The idea of bhakti comes into it. And also upasana or worship of a personal god. So from that time, you find the Puranic literature. Now in art, like in Assam, actually, I'm not very familiar with other parts of India, but like in Assam, when I have looked, we find from the Pala period onwards. So the Kirtimukha we find in sculpture in Assam, especially, I'm saying, say from 9th century onwards. 9th century onwards, right up to 13th, 14th century. 13th, 14th century. Like, but in the temples, which I said, the standing temples of the 15th or 16th century, which we find in Assam, because there was a break with the earlier tradition for many political and other reasons. And in those temples, we don't find the Kirtimukha. We don't find the Kirtimukha, neither do we find the Vidyadhara. So up to the 14th century in Assam, we do find them. But in other places, like say in Orissa, where we have ancient temples are still standing, and even down south, you do find the Kirtimukha. And in Southeast Asia, it is like post 5th, 6th century, but like up to 15th century, you do find the Kirtimukha, not later. Because after all, to build temples and all, you need royal patronage. So when people were worshippers of, say, Brahminical deities, then you will find the Kirtimukha. And of course, the Buddhist art also would appropriate, like in Borobudur, we find the Kirtimukha. But at a later period, after the coming of Islam, when it is against the belief system to depict humans and animals and other things in art, you will not find the Kirtimukha in, say, Indonesia and places like that after that. And today in modern temples, in imitation of early temples, you might find it. But as an artistic motive, I'm more familiar with my own state of Assam. And there, beyond the 14th century, we do not find the Kirtimukha. And one question is there from Shivalika Khokar. Can the Kirtimukha motif be traced to or related to terracotta mask found from Mohenjo-daro? No. We cannot find, we have not come across any remains like that. Anything similar to the Kirtimukha mask from, that is the Mohenjo-daro or Harappa or other places. And regarding Shamraman's question about the Nataraja, it is from the Ambari excavations. It is the 13th, 14th century. So this may be lingering of the Pala style in Assam. But it's not Pala, there's a break in the Pala style. So the dynasty actually at that time there were lots of wars going on. And till actually 14th century, we find Pala inscriptions in Ambari, the area. So I would say that is, but although it's not like the early Pala style, like the Nataraja, which I had shown, it's not the early Pala style because the old artist had lost the patronage due to a warlike situation and invasions. And only when there was a lull and sort of peace for a little time, then we find these sculptures. And other questions? I don't know if Kirtimukha is found in Kerala. Okay, Simha Mukha, actually, it is a Kirtimukha only, because the Kirtimukha is a lion face, only it's a stylized sort of grotesque lion face. So it is a type of lion face. So it is like the Kirtimukha only. And different people like, it depends on the artist, how an artist, because in Assam, where I have shown you different photographs, the Kirtimukha, some it actually looks comical and funny, sort of like a cartoon almost. And I'm looking at the questions. There doesn't seem to be any more. Okay, there doesn't seem to be anything.
See, Krishna is asking, Kirtimukha was originally related to Shiva, but we also find it with some of Vishnu temples.
Yeah, Vishnu temples and other places also, because it became a regular, like from the actual origin, it became a popular motif to ward off the evil eye. And it began to be conventionally used in art. It became a sort of part of it, you know. Like, okay, we are building this sculpture, so we put this on top and things like that. Because people found it attractive. It was frightening at the same time. Because what you find in like the use of grotesque features on temples, even in Gothic temples in your churches, etc., in Europe, and here in India also, temples at one time were also the repositories of great wealth. And one, like in ancient societies, like the divine is also something to be scared of. You know, you put the fear, what we call to put the fear of God in someone. So people will not steal from temples because, I mean, you might have a thing of bad luck and superstition and things like that. And in Khajuraho and all that, when we look at the temples like the Jagati and all that, that is built on tall platforms. So there you have a contrast between the beautiful sculptures and the grotesque figures also. Like the contrast between dark and light, which are two sides of life. Like, just as Shiva himself has a destructive and a benevolent and creative energy, so similarly, the Kirtimukha could be used to ward off evil also, and also as something to frighten, to put the fear of the divine in you. So we have these symbols in art. And once a new symbol comes into it, then the artists start using it on others. And many a time, for sort of an aesthetic sense also, to give a symmetry to many sculptures in a temple, say, because we have the Pancha Devata concept. So Shiva, suppose it's a Shiva temple, then you might have subsidiary shrines dedicated to Vishnu, to Ganesha, to Surya, and to the Devi in her different forms. So then in their sculptures also the Kirtimukha would be put for symmetrical reasons by the artist. And ultimately many things in art, it also because of the creative energy, creativity of the individual artist. And somebody starts a trend and everybody starts it. It's like with fashion. Because we need to understand that art is not like the Kirtimukha. It may originally have been associated with a religion, but later also it could have become a fashion to use it. Like people make a locket or a talisman to ward off evil, something like that. Okay, Vaibhav has asked, is it found in Southeast India?
Yeah, and also, do we see motifs in Shirdi?
Shirdi I have not gone to. So I only know about Shirdi Sai Baba.
Yeah.
Not gone through.
Okay, so shall we wrap up for the day? Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Paromita Das. It was a brilliant lecture, not just a lecture, and what Rajaram said, that you took us around the world, like Jules once said, in 90 days, you did it in less than 90 minutes. A virtual tour of all the beautiful exotic locations. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward for more such lectures from you in the future.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. And thank you, everyone.
Thank
for
you.
all your encouraging remarks.
Oh,
Thank you.
No, our pleasure.